Question number 3, Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Does he stand by his statement that, quotes, "We are seeing a record number of houses being built"? If so, why, given 29,000 dwellings were consented nationwide in the past year, compared to 33,000 in 2004 and 40,000 in 1974?
Speaker.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, yes. According to the latest Building Activity Survey from Statistics New Zealand, the volume of residential building work in the latest March quarter was the highest since the series began back in the 1980s. That's up 40% since 2013, an impressive 80% since the start of 2012. As I said in a speech last month, building consents are now at their highest level for over 11 years, and National's comprehensive housing plan is aimed squarely at increasing them further.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Has he seen the Reserve Bank report showing the number of new houses being built, both in Auckland and around the country, as many thousands below the number of new families needing a home?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speakers, probably a likely shortfall at the moment, but what we know is that that gap is closing very rapidly, and in part that will be assisted by the Auckland Unitary Plan and actually the fact that we're in the middle of the biggest building boom New Zealand's ever seen.
Supplementary.
That's not true.
Order. Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Is he aware the Reserve Bank's calculations show 16,000 houses were needed to keep up with Auckland's population growth last year, while only 9,000 were consented?
That's the boom. The
Speaker,
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I haven't seen that data, but Mr. Speaker, I think most people accept that one of those factors is migration, but of course migration goes through flows. We already saw it, and cycles easing back a little bit last week. So overall, I think the general conceived wisdom is we need about 13,000 new properties a year in Auckland, and we're rapidly getting near that number.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
How does the housing shortage, which is leading to out-of-control house prices and rents, affect families?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, it obviously has an impact in terms of what people have to pay for their home, although I would point out that house prices nationally have gone up under half the rate of under this government as they did under the previous Labor government, and about the same level in Auckland as they did. But the one big advantage, of course, for New Zealanders now with a National-led government is that interest rates are at a 70-year low. Employment markets are very strong. The economy itself created 251,000 additional jobs in the last 3 years. In fact, Mr. Speaker, things have got so good that even the Maori King says he'll never vote for Labor again.
Supplementary.
Order.
That's probably because he's got a house.
Order. Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
What does he say to Samoana Nolo Yoelu, who is about to be evicted from the unconsented garage where she's been living with her 11-month-old baby, and who says, quotes, "We couldn't afford the $300 and something a week for rent. I can't go on the road. I can't go sleep in the car with my son. He's too young."
The
Mr.
Right
Speaker,
Honourable Prime Minister.
I don't have the details of the case, but I would refer the person to work and income.
Supplementary.
Order. Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Why in 2016 are any New Zealanders having to choose between living in garages or living in cars? Or is this the something special he said we were on the cusp of?
Speaker,
The Right Honourable
Speaker,
Prime
the
Minister.
government has been looking closely at the issue around emergency housing. It's one of the reasons why there was $41 million additional expenditure in budget 2016 alone. It's why hundreds of millions have been put into social housing. It's why the government has been ensuring that income-related rents are paid not only for Housing New Zealand homes, but also for community housing providers for social housing. Mr. Speaker, it's why there's more money being spent in Auckland for social housing.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
In light of statements by Treasury, the Reserve Bank, the Auckland Chamber of Commerce, the ANZ, and now 85% of Aucklanders who say there's a housing crisis, will he now admit his plan is a comprehensive failure and it's time to just build some bloody houses.
Speaker.
Right Honourable Prime
The
Minister.
member's incorrectly quoting the agencies he did.
Question number 4. Order. Question number 4.